as utility costs climb across New Jersey, many households are feeling the strain, just as voters are heading to the polls. With that in mind, we are pleased to welcome Brian Lipman, Director of the New Jersey Division of Rate Counsel, who represents consumers in utility matters. He joins us today to break down where rate increase proposals stand, what steps the state is taking to protect ratepayers, and what a new governor should do early in office to ensure affordability and fairness. Brian, welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Can you start by giving us the current status of utility rate increase proposals in the state of New Jersey?
Sure. So what you really have is you have two sets of rate increase proposals. First is at the federal level, which is constantly in motion. We're going to have yet another auction in December for the capacity, and that was what drove the big rate increase we saw in June. So we're going to see what that does. More likely than not, it's going to stay around the same price. So that will result in a slight increase in prices for the cost of electricity. Now, within New Jersey, there are multiple things happening at the same time. There are 3 or 4 utilities currently that are in for rate cases, a base rate case where a utility will say, I've invested a lot of money and now I need to start recovering that from ratepayers. And there's going to be other types of clause cases, infrastructure building, those type of cases. And anytime the utility spends money, eventually they're going to come to the ratepayers and say, I spent this money, now I need to recover it from the ratepayers.
Is there one main factor, though, that drives the requests that really hits consumers' wallets hardest?
I would say recently it's been the cost of electricity. The cost of the actual electricity that people are using has been going up significantly in the last year to 2 years, driven mostly, quite frankly, by data centers. I saw the panel
Mm.
before talking about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence uses a lot more electricity, so everyone's got us at least one, if not multiple cell phones, and we're all doing searches using artificial intelligence. So a search that at one time on Google or whatever you use might have taken X amount, it's now 10x of the same amount of electricity. So you're using a lot more power. These data centers are very power hungry. They're using a lot of electricity. Before the boom in data centers, we were actually looking at a decline in the amount of electricity we're using as a region. And now we're looking at massive increases, and that's driving up the price of electricity.
And that's why you have, I guess, some of the data center companies talking about building their own mini nuclear power plants, right, to generate enough electricity to power this. It's fascinating because people think you just show up in a town and you just plug in, but the town's power may not be able to support an AI center in that town. So that's why they're coming up with their own resources in that case. So what actions has the state or rate council already taken to protect households from unfair hikes?
So we are involved, rate counsel is involved in every single case where a utility is seeking to increase your rates or change your terms of service. And we do a lot of pushing back. We research what it is they're asking for. Is it necessary? Was it needed? And also we look at the return, the amount of return the utility earns, because the utility doesn't only want to get back what it invested, it wants to earn a return on that amount. And so we push back on that as well. We're very involved both at the state and the federal level to make sure that what the utility is asking for is what they actually need, and that we're looking at, quite frankly, everything. We've got accountants, we've got economists, and we're really digging into these rate increases. At the same time, the state is doing everything it can. One of the big things that the state is doing now is getting much more involved at the federal level, where you're seeing these large increases. So that was somewhere where, quite frankly, rate counsel was by itself fighting these rate increases when they weren't as massive. Now that they're massive, you see more resources being poured into that review of those type of increases.
So talk about that a little bit more, if you will, the Division of Rate Counsel and the intervention. So if they show up at regulatory hearings and negotiations, or is it that you push legislators to have new legislation? How does it work?
Yes to all of the above. Anytime there's a case, the Board of Public Utilities is our regulator. They regulate all the utilities in the state. Anytime a utility files a case at the Board of Public Utilities, Rate Counsel is a statutory intervener. That means we're at the table during negotiations. If it's litigated, we're involved in the litigation. We're filing briefs, we're filing expert reports. Anytime the Board of Public Utilities issues a straw proposal of some new program that the state wants to put out there, we file comments on behalf of the ratepayers explaining the impact that might have on ratepayers. When the legislature is considering any type of legislation that could have an impact on ratepayers, we try to be there, we try to testify, and we try to make sure the legislators understand the impact that this could have on ratepayers. A lot of times, a bill that seems like it's very beneficial, there's not an understanding of how that plays out in rates and what it's going to do to the actual bills that people will see when they pay their bills. So we try to make sure the legislators understand that before they pass any legislation.
So now, with the lame duck session ahead, what utility-related legislation are you urging the legislature to prioritize?
One of the ones that we're very pushing on is that electric utility must be part of what's called a regional transmission organization. And what that has the potential to do is lower the amount of return that the utility would earn for their wholesale transmission, which would in turn lower rates. And it could have a significant impact, as much as half a percentage point on their return.
And after the election, of course, we had both candidates talking about wanting to do things about electric costs. So, what should the new governor, whoever he or she is, tackle first in terms of utility regulation and consumer protection?
I think the first thing they should do is they should stay involved. The governors across the region have started to work together, bipartisan, to work on rates at the federal level. I think it's important that the governor remain active in that. Governor Murphy has been active in that group, and whoever the next governor should remain active in that group. I think the other thing they need to do is take a hard look at some of the regulations that we have at the BPU and some of the programs that the BPU is implementing, and see whether we need to revamp or maybe rethink how we're doing things. There's a lot of infrastructure investment that's being done that made sense to people when the price of electricity, the price of gas was low. Now that the prices have gone up, I think we need to take another look at what we're investing in, the speed and pace that we're investing in, whether all that investment is necessary right away, right now.
So, with all of that said, how do you strike that balance between pushing clean energy goals and keeping rates affordable and reliable? Because I think everybody has a goal, right? They want to have green, clean energy, but it does cost a lot. And when you shut down fossil fuel plants before the green energy plants are up, that's something that contributes to the hike in electricity supply and demand, right?
Right. I mean, right now we're in a position where we need everything. Any type of power that's available, we need to, if it's currently there, we need to keep it online. If it's being built, we need to assist it being built. What we can do, though, is we pay a lot more for our renewable energy than other states do. We pay more for solar than other states do. We pay more for energy efficiency than other states do. I think we pay more than for electric vehicles than other states do. We can take a hard look at what we're doing and do it better. And I think, that will make a big difference on the ratepayer impact. Is it going to cost? Of course, everything costs, whatever we do. If you build a gas-fired plant, a nuclear power plant, or a solar panel, they're going to want to recover that from ratepayers. That's going to cost money. But we need to make sure that we're doing it the right way and that we're doing it cost-beneficial way. And we've not been good about that in the recent past.
All right. Brian Lipman, Director of the New Jersey Division of Rate Counsel, thank you so much for coming on this morning. And before you get off the screen, I want to remind people, for more information on when, where, and how to vote, please visit aarp.org/NJ votes. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. It's good to talk to you.
You bet.